Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to WOR. We are here for season number 13. It is round 4 of the championship, the race that was due to take place last week, of course, after having an early week's break. We are here for the Australian Grand Prix at the Albert Park Street Circuit. My name is James Head. I'm going to be taking you to the stream, as always, of course, on this fine Friday evening. And joining me in the commentary box, it's Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing? Yeah, it should be a really interesting race indeed, of course. And we have started the stream a little bit early. There's no advertisements, of course, tonight because I know what everyone is wondering in terms of no advertisements. But we are sponsored still by Gridfind, of course, and SimStaff, who are our main two title sponsors. As many people may have heard over the last 2 days or so, or the last 24 hours or so even, of course, Queen Elizabeth II passed away here in the UK at the age of 96, giving 70 years of service, public service to the throne. Of course, she will be sorely missed by all in our country, in the UK, and I think it is fine and right that we pay tribute to her tonight at the start of the stream. Born in 1926, took the throne over when she was 25, and then obviously spent 70 years on the throne. No other monarch has done that in the UK, and of course, her gracious presence will be missed by all, especially her family, who we are grieving for, of course, from everyone here at WOR. And I think it is right that myself and Aidan now mute ourselves for a minute, and therefore we'll be back in a minute's time to take you through the rest of tonight's action. So we'll be back in a minute. And that was our minute silence, of course, to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, 70 years on the throne for Queen and for country. Let us take you through then, once again, the drivers' standings, or for the first time tonight, let me take you through the drivers' standings, of course, from what was a pretty wacky race in Miami in the last 2 weeks or so. Rowan leading the way on 56 points. Jensen there in second on 45. Kaufalides tied in third in the McLaren, of course, with the Rocker also tied in third on 27 points. Cazzizzle there in fifth on 25. Smalley in sixth on 24. Krypton in seventh on 20. Then Denzo in eighth on 16. Frankie in ninth on 15. And then Mitchie rounding off the top 10 on 13 points. And Aiden coming into tonight, obviously, Rowan leading the way by 11 points. We weren't here last week. We were due to race last week. It was low attendance, though. And again, a little bit low attendance here tonight with 15 drivers. But Rowan leading the way by 11 points in the championship. Does he have what it takes tonight to make it potentially 2 in a row?
I think he does. Hopefully, everybody on the stream end can hear me once again. Fingers crossed. We'll
I
wait and
muted
see.
you.
But
Sorry.
hopefully, you can hear me again. But yeah, I think he definitely has the potential to do it again. I mean, Rowan's been, you'd probably say, the outright fastest driver this season, which is obviously why he's leading the championship as we see at the moment. And it's been a really solid start for Owen, definitely. So I don't see why not. I think obviously with it being Miami last time out as well, it's fairly similar in nature to Australia in terms of it being a street circuit, being narrow, being fast. So I don't see why he wouldn't be able to perform here like he did in Miami last time out as well. But there are quite a few people in this championship who have had the pace, but maybe not got the results. I think Karafalides definitely stands out. He's been at the front every single race, but not quite been able to finish at the front every single time. And Mish as well, down in 10th position, is another one who I think first round of the season in Austria was dominating the first half of the race and then never got really rewarded for it. So there's quite a few drivers that are maybe a bit further down that we're not looking at right now that have a lot of pace and could be a bit more of a threat going forwards.
Yeah, those are the only 10 that we've got, obviously, on the driver's standings. I was going to get the full grid up, and then I literally got sent through the top 10 for the driver's standings, which was very nice and neat indeed from Mr. Luke Humphreys. Let us take you through then the Australian circuit, 5.2 kilometres and then 3.2 mile, 14 turns awaiting our drivers out on track with 3 DRS zones, 1 down the start-finish straight in towards turn number 1, 1 down in towards turn number 3 at Whitford corner, and then 1 down in towards, of course, turn number 11 at the end of the back straight in towards the Ascari corner. Not to be confused, of course, with Monza, as we are going there this weekend, of course, in real life. And Aidan, it is a fearsome track here, Australia. A track that I think drivers don't really like on this game for obvious reasons. But obviously, I think when you get the action going on the track, I think it's a really good track to actually be around.
I think it is. Yeah, I think in previous iterations of the game and previous iterations of the circuit, I think it was a bit of a Marmite kind of track. You either absolutely loved it or you hated it. It was quite difficult to overtake. It was really, really challenging. But all of the updates that have come to this track in this year have really, I think, made a really, really good difference to the circuit. I think in real life we saw a really, really good race in Australia this year, and I think in league racing as well, it's opening up more opportunities for overtaking and a different style of racing as well. And I think the changes to the circuit have somehow made the circuit more difficult, which I think actually spices it up just that little bit more. Especially in the middle part of the lap, you need so much straight line speed from the new turn 6 all the way down to turn 11. You need so much straight line speed that those high speed corners going down to that part are really, really sketchy, and they're really bumpy as well. So it makes the track really, really difficult. And like you say, I think for some people that's a bit too much of a challenge and they don't really enjoy it. But for me personally, I love it. I think it's a great challenge. I think this is a great circuit, and I think the updates they've made to it have made it just 10 times better.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's a bit more free-flowing in terms of the track as well. Obviously, around here in Australia, we've had the improvements, of course, done by the Melbourne City Council, I think it was, who actually did all of these track changes in Albert Park. Of course, it is still around the same circuit, all being, though, different apexes, like we see through turn number 3 and 4 there with Jensen, who is the first man out on track. Of course, last year's champion in Season 12, of course, second in the championship, coming into tonight, only 11 points behind Rowan. Both of them, I believe, in fact, Jensen, yeah, Rowan is here. Didn't see him on the left-hand side there. I thought he was missing, but Jensen and Rowan are both here, and that means Jensen can obviously take the fight to Rowan coming into tonight. I think, honestly, a track like Australia will suit him down to the ground.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is a track that would suit them down to the ground. Like you say, they've got so much experience racing at the front. Like you say, Jensen's champion last season, so you can't really write against him performing around a track like this. But I think I don't think it's out of the realms as well to expect one person that we've maybe not seen perform right at the front this season have a really, really shock race. I think it is a track, like a lot of street circuits are, that is a bit of a specialist circuit, and some drivers really, really shine at tracks like this. It just seems to be a track that they gel with really, really well. So while I would expect to see Rowan and Jensen fighting at the front, I think there'll be a few people in there that we maybe haven't really spoken about yet that could mix it about a little bit and make it very interesting.
Yeah, there certainly will be. Let's go on board then with Jensen on the run down in towards the right-hander of turn number 1, then to the left-hander again of turn number 2, and he's now on this lap, sending about on the run down in towards Whitford corner at turn number 3. Just got to slightly turn on down my telly because I can hear it in the background. It seems quite loud, so just turn it down there a little bit slightly, and that turns the Elgato down as well. Jensen now coming through the left-hander of turn number 4, nice and negotiating now to the right-hander of turn number 5, and then, of course, in towards turn number 6. It's looking quite good so far in terms of that 26.6 through the first sector from the Ferrari as he now flies through 7 and 8, and then of course on the run down to the fearsome chicane of turns 9 and 10 now. Used to be, of course, turns 10 and 11 when this track, of course, was reprofiled for this season's Grand Prix. As Jensen now in towards the end of the middle sector, 44.2 in that middle sector split, looking quite good through the right-hander of turn 10, now in towards the Ascari corner, of course, at turn number 11, which is this pretty much downhill braking point now in towards turn 11. Hard on the brakes from Jensen through the right-hander of turn 11, sticks out on you that corner now compared to obviously in real life last year, as Jensen now comes through the left-hander of now left-hander of turn number 13, and then through the final corner, cross corner at turn number 14. On the run to the line with Jensen, already going to be breaking the track record around here for WOR, and Jensen on the run to the line with a 1:17.1 to start the night. And do you know what? That is not a bad lap at all.
No, it's not a bad lap, actually. I'm running on board with Karafalidis. He's about a tenth and a half down after the second sector, but lost a little bit more time in the final part. He really took a bit of liberties with the track at the exit of turn 10 and had to back off to make sure he didn't invalidate, which is why he's lost that little bit of time in the final set. So just seeing who else is on a lap coming to the end of one right now. I think Denzo coming up to the line and goes only to a 17.8, so he pops at P4 out of the 4 drivers that set a time so far. And I think Kryptonite is next across the line, and he goes P4. Kryptonite not had the best of seasons so far, but starting to build a little bit of momentum as we get a bit further into the season now, it seems. We're just trying to see who's next, and that is Smalley in the other McLaren. Crosses the line, and he's now gone onto the front row alongside Jensen on a 17.5, but still no one within 3.5 tenths of Jensen after the first runs. We've still got half the grid yet to complete their first runs, but I'm not seeing anybody at the moment who looks like they're going to challenge.
Yeah, Rowan is on a lap, I believe, unless he's invalidated, obviously, off his lap. He's coming in toward the middle sector split, so actually, looking through this middle sector split, Rowan is a 46.8. He's not using any ERS, I don't think. Obviously, he's actually on a lap here from the Red Bull man. I think he'll be back in the pit lane, of course, our championship leader for now. Jensen out on top, Smalley second, Jake Marsh in third. 1,000th of a second, by the way, separating Smalley, I should say, and Jack Marsh. Jack Marsh? Jake Marsh. Goodness me. Jono is coming through the right-hander as well. He's an F2, a Tier 2 driver, of course, and filling in tonight for Tier 1. We've only got 12 Tier 1 drivers, actually, tonight, who are full-time, which is very disappointing. Hopefully that will be rectified, of course, going into next week's racing. The other two are Aquila, who has set a lap time as well, 1:17.7 in the AlphaTauri, 7 tenths down in his lap so far, and Raphael, who's just came back in the pit lane as well, and hopefully not going to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle out on track either.
Of course, he had to get the joke in. I think it was coming at some point, wasn't it? So, yeah, had to get that one in. I was just riding on board with Dan Spreen. Actually, Rowan's unfortunately left the session, but fingers crossed they can get back into the lobby. Just riding on board with Dan Spreen, and that's 2 laps that are always invalidated at turn number 2. It's turn number 1's, I think, deceivingly difficult this time around. The apex has been widened just a little bit. It's a bit of a faster entry, but it's also a lot flatter, I feel like, on the exit of the corner now. So you can... It kind of invites you to take liberties with the track limits, and it can bite you very, very hard here. I think it's also a bit of a visual element that these drivers are struggling with, and that yellow line is actually the track limits and not the white line just after it. So the track limits are actually a bit narrower than you imagine, than you would first think. So that is, the second time Dan Spreen has been caught out when he doesn't look like he's fully off the circuit, but that is just the nature of that corner, and I would not be surprised if that is a pain point for these drivers, not only in qualifying but in the race as well. I do fear that track limit penalties could play a big part in this race.
Yeah, definitely so. I think, obviously, the track being Australia, and I think the track being, obviously, in terms of the nature, you will pick up a lot of invalidations around here. I've done some time trial laps around here, and it's always turn 1. You invalidate to turn number 1, pretty much you are screwed in terms of your lap time out on track. It's just the nature of the track. In Australia, it was the same on the old layout as well. It is one of these tracks, honestly, that drives you absolutely mad if you've ever driven around here. Line Violet as well, the left-hander turn number 13. Nahima has now left the session, so hopefully he will be able to get back in there as well. The Aston Martin driver, I think he has had connection issues, though, in the past. Line Violet, though, the MAHA driver on the run down into the right-hander of turn number 1. Of course, I think he's a reserve filling in for tonight in the Williams, or full-time driver in the Williams, either or, as it comes now down into towards Richfield Corner at turn number 3. Jensen out on top, Smalley in second, Jake Marsh in third. Line Violet now coming through the right hand of 3, through the left hand of turn number 4, opening up the apex very nicely. Could have taken it a little bit quicker, to be honest, through the right hand of turn number 5, in towards the fearsome right of 6 and 7, 26.9 in the first sector, already 3 tenths down on Jensen. Don't think this is going to be an electric lap on them.
No, it doesn't look like it in this case of the lap, but we'll see what they can do. Maybe if their car's maybe a bit set up to be faster in a straight line, maybe in this middle part of the lap, maybe more suited for the race conditions, but through the second sector, it's not too bad, but then hops over the curb on the inside of turn 9 and completely invalidates the lap. So there you go, there's another invalidation, there's another pain point on the track. It's all these fast corners, isn't it? Turn 1, you've got turn 9 and 10 that are pain points for track limits as well. We've got turn 12 just coming up as another one on the exit that can catch a lot of drivers out. And yeah, Line Violet just another one to add to the list of a driver that's exceeded track limits. He is still pushing on, so I think he just wants to put some sort of delta on the board, but as I say that, dives straight into the pit lane. So Line Violet now back into the pit lane after his first attempt at a run in this session. Chano Baba has also invalidated in the first sector on their latest one. I'm just seeing who is closest to the end of a lap. I think it is Fede actually in the Alpine who is closest to the end of a lap at the moment, coming around the final corner and up towards the line. Really easy to spin on traction out of the final corner because it is a traction zone that leads all the way to the right, and Fede goes into second position. So not a bad lap there from Fede, but still over 0.3 of a second behind Jensen at the front of the field. Just seeing if anybody is really close to getting near that. And I think, well, at the moment it seems the only driver on a lap that's actually looking like it could be competitive enough to get within a couple of tenths of Jensen at the top is actually Kryptonite, currently down in 7th. He's 3.5 tenths up.
Yeah, 3.5 tenths up in the Mercedes. Also, Rowan in the first sector was a 26.5 through the first sector. So he was matching actually Jensen in the first sector, around a tenth and a half off. Krypton now coming through. Invalidated coming out of turn number 11. And he knows the track limit's coming through there. Rowan's coming through turn 11 now, as well as the actually bit behind them actually out on track is Rowan, of course, the championship leader. Coming into tonight is Jensen out on top. Noah now in second. The Shizuoka Academy driver going well there in second. Ferrari 1-2 as well, and Freddy there in third as now Rowan comes out the final corner, maybe making it a VSR 1-2 on the run towards the line here from the Red Bull man, and he goes quickest. Very good lap time by Rowan. Not in doubt really in terms of his lap. He was down in the first sector, so obviously can improve that through the technical parts through 3 and 4. But Rowan out on top, Jensen there in second, Noah there in third. Also on a lap, I believe, is Denzo. He's just starting on 1-1 as well, as has Aquila, as has Dan Sprino. I think he's just starting a lap as well. Not sure if there's anybody else out there.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. Jake Marsh actually on a lap at the moment in the Mercedes coming up towards the line, and he goes into P3, so finds a couple of tenths of a second and is back up onto the second row of the grid, but had a bit of a wobble actually on the exit of turn 11, so there is a little bit more time in that lap for the Mercedes driver. Just seeing Jensen now on a lap, like you said, I think earlier on. Only 12 thousandths up though on his first one is Jensen, and then he's just invalidated through turn 12, which is a corner I mentioned earlier on. So it was a great banker lap from Jensen, but at the start of his second lap in this qualifying session, he didn't really find any time and has now exceeded track limit. So I wonder if Jensen has reached his peak in this qualifying session almost immediately, and now we're just waiting for the other drivers to catch up. So yeah, a bit of a mistake there, unfortunately, for Jensen on their second run, but still on the front row alongside their championship rival for the time being, and nearly 2 tenths clear of the next car. So yeah, still Jensen not really in any immediate danger at the moment, but he'll want to get back on pole position, try and get one over on the championship leader as it stands, and his VSL teammate as well. I'm just seeing who would be next to finish a run. I think it's going to be Aquila in the AlphaTauri, who is a couple of tenths up on their personal best so far in this session. So looking to maybe get in and around where Fede and Noah are on the grid, maybe into the second row potentially for the AlphaTauri as he crosses the line. And he does actually go ahead of them, goes ahead of Jake as well. So good time in the final sector, and Aquila goes up into third position.
Yeah, good lap there from Aquila, going third, of course, only a Tier 2 driver, and he's behind the Tier 1 champion last season of Season 12, of course, in VSR Jensen. So not a bad lap there at all from Aquila. Obviously a very good lap time there, obviously in third. Smalley as well, just not a lap. I was on board with Denzo, he was looking quick. He invalidated coming out the final corner, unfortunately. He ran so far wide onto the curb, though, coming out of turn 11, where Krypton obviously invalidated. He ran so far wide there, he still had a valid lap time, and I was unbelievably bemused as to why that was the case. Denzo extending more track limits than Krypton, obviously, there is down in 10th position still with an invalid lap time with a 17.8. Apologies, by the way, we are experiencing a little bit of intermittent Wi-Fi issue. It is my end, unfortunately. The joys of streaming through OBS, I'm afraid. Line Volot's just invalidated as well, and Cherno through the first sector, 26.7. So, not looking to go around the Rowan Jensen sort of area with a 17 flat.
Yeah, not quite there, it looks like, but I think their first banker lap I just checked actually was a 17.6, but it was invalidated, so that's a pretty competitive banker lap for Cherno as he goes through the second sector, 44.5 through the middle part of the lap. So it's about a tenth and a half down on where Jensen was at the end of his lap, so this is probably going to look to be in and around maybe Jake Marsh and Noah in the 0.3s if they can nail the final sector on this lap. As they go through turn 11, keep well away from the curb on the inside because it is very, very steep on the inside. It can shove you offline. Through turn number 12, keeps it well within track limits, and then into the final 2 corners, reprofile turn number 13. You kind of just need to use as a preparation to get the best run through the final corner, and you can see really, really ginger on the throttle there was the Alfa Romeo to make sure he didn't spin on the exit, crosses the line, and actually doesn't set that great of a final sector in the end, goes and splits the McLarens and is in P8. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit more time on the board there for Cherno as an improvement there from Kryptonite goes up into third position in the Mercedes, making it a Mercedes 3.5 now. And as I say that, Karafalidis goes and pips them and goes into third place. Yeah,
good final sector from Karafalidis, who's only a tenth and a half up in the middle sector. It was a 44.2. compared to Chono, who did a 44.4 in the middle sector. That is not a bad lap there at all from Karafalidis. Of course, he can improve as this session goes on as well, with 4.5 minutes to go basically in the session. Rowan out on top, Jensen second, and then Karafalidis in third, as the main protagonists have just started up on that lap. Jensen coming toward the end of the first sector split, 26.4 in the first sector.
Wow.
That's more like it from Jensen, as he invalidates. As soon as I say that, it's always the same. He invalidates coming through 6 and 7, unfortunately for him, and Rowan through the first sector as well. Very comparable, I think, as well in that Red Bull.
Yeah, 0.5 in the first sector, so a little bit down on Jensen, but crucially for them, kept it on the track this time through turn number 6, hasn't invalidated, so we'll see through the middle sector if they've been able to find any time. The middle sector pretty much is just turn 6 in a straight, but have managed to find even more time in the middle part of the lap, and it's a 44.1 at the end of the second sector, so good lap so far, and it's looking like Rowan is going to be the first driver to break into the 16s if they don't make a mistake in this final sector through then turn 11, keeping it well within track limits once again is the Red Bull, and he heads through the final couple, coming up to the final couple of corners now, really pushing the limits there through 12, but gets away with it, gets short shift into 4th, keeps it to the left-hand side for the quickest one through the final corner, and now it's just the run to the line. It is looking like this is going to be a 16 from Rowan, the first driver into the 16s. No, never mind, I lied, not into the 16s, didn't improve in the final sector, in fact lost about a tenth, nearly a tenth and a half in the final sector on his personal best, and only manages to end up doing a 17 flat.
I think, honestly, in terms of his lap time, he was too hesitant coming out of the chicane of turns 9 and 10. That's where he lost the time. I thought, honestly, he was going to lose around a tenth and a half through there, and that's exactly what I think has happened in that final sector. He's lost that tenth of a second, and there, with the 17 flat, it's still a good lap time. Jensen, though, comparing him to his first sector, 27.4 in the first sector. Rowan 26.5, sorry, from Rowan. Jensen 26.4 in the first sector. Jensen has got the upper hand in that first sector, so it's all about Rowan getting that lap time in. Denzel, by the way, is on a lap as Noel, 26.6 through the first sector. He's 2.5 tenths up on his lap so far. There's Rowan out on top, Jensen in second, Karafalidis in third with 2 minutes and 45 seconds just over to go in this session. There are yellow flags, just ignore them on the left-hand side. I think that might be Dan's screen just going on in that lap, if I'm not mistaken. Denzel again has lost time though, 900 down, 900 up I should say, in the middle sector, and so far wide coming out of the chicane of turns 9 and 10 on the road towards the right-hand of turn number 11, and Denzel currently not really improving, I don't think, in terms of this lap time. Potentially he's going to come through the right-hand of turn number 12, then through the left-hander again of turn 13, rolling out on top, Jensen second, Karafalidis currently in third, and Denzel, who's normally quite quick, is not quick anymore, has a big snap of oversteer coming out, and he negotiates the pit lane quite wrongly there, to be honest, as Nahima has retired in the pit lane. He's not getting a valid lap time in, and Denzel's done out of the session as well. Raphael is coming through the final corner as well, maybe doing a sort of Michelangelo disappearing act up toward the top end of the field here from Raphael, on the run toward the line, and he actually goes 11, 17.7, so not a bad lap there at all, but final drivers are on their outlaps. I'm not sure who's going to be first. I think Dan Spreen's on a lap.
Yeah, Dan Spreen is the first driver on a lap at the moment in the Aston Martin, but his only representative time is a second off the next car, so Dan's not looking really that comfortable around this track this evening. And just to prove my point, has a big snap of oversteer there out of turn 5, and lucky actually to get away with only a little bit of front wing damage. In any normal circumstance, that usually is a really, really big crash and a wheel taken off the car, so he's lucky to get away with it. But that is Dan Spreen's qualifying over and done with. The best they can hope for is 13th, and 14th could be likely if Lion Violet can get a valid lap on the board in these last few minutes. As just seeing who is the next to be on a lap, Jake Marsh and Noah have both invalidated through turn number 1 on their last lap, so it doesn't look like they're going to be on any sort of competitive run anytime soon. So I think Smalley actually is the only one on a lap at the moment in the McLaren, just gone through the first sector split now. Just see what that first sector time was for Smalley actually, just see what it was. Yeah, 0.6 or 699, so basically a 7 pretty much, so not the best of first sectors for Smalley as he goes through into the second sector split. He's a 10th up, but a 44.6 is nearly half a second off what the best we've seen so far at this point in the lap. So yeah, not looking too great from Smalley in this lap so far. He's only 900ths of a second up. That would only get him ahead of Fede as it stands. It's going to have to be a really big improvement in the final sector, but with the first 2 sectors we've seen so far, I don't think we're going to see that much of an improvement from Smalley.
Yeah, he's run wide out of turn number 12 as well, in towards 13, and then through the right-hand of turn number 14. The McLaren is going to set his first lap, and as long as he doesn't invalidate at the final corner, on the run to the line with Smalley. 17.4, I'm thinking here from Smalley. Oh, 17.3, only 3 thousandths off, so not actually too bad. No, as you say, was invalidated. He's got on for another lap, though. Jake Marsh exactly the same as well. Akila's towards the end of his lap as well in the AlphaTauri. I think he's actually going to be the first one to potentially come across the line in this run of lap times. Rowan and Jensen are behind. And I think, actually, Jensen... Not sure if he'd spun coming through the middle sector. Yeah, he's invalid. I thought he was going slow through the chicane at turns 9 and 10 on the mini-map there. Keeler, though, coming toward the final couple of corners. The AlphaTauri now on the run toward the line. Gonna put it up there, I think, here, Keeler. Actually doesn't improve. A 10th and a half down. Krypton invalidated as well. He was 2 tenths up and would have gone on to pole position with a 16.9. Carol Felidis is invalidated. Jensen is done. Rowan is done. Nobody improving. Jake Marsh is invalidated as well. Noah, though, is a 10th and a half up middle sector. 44.2 is comparative, but he needs to try and improve. He's got 2.5 tenths to find. Can he find it, though, on the run up towards turn 11 as he now comes in towards the right-hander of turn number 11. Going forward with him now in toward the right-hander of turn number 12, and the Academy driver now, Fisher Z, was going to put it all on the line here. It's Rowan out on top. Jensen in second, Kauflidis in third. Noah now coming to the left-hander of 13, through the right-hander of 14, opens up the taps now on the exit of the final corner, on the run to the line. It's going to be extraordinarily close for Noah, on the run towards the line. Doesn't actually improve, but he does improve. He goes fourth, 17.1, doesn't improve really in terms of lap time. Smalley has done as well. And that, my friends, is the end of qualifying, and it's that VSR 1-2 once again. Rowan, the championship leader, from Jensen there in second. And already we go into the final grid order from qualifying. It's Rowan out on top, Jensen in second, Kauflidis there in third, with Noah in fourth, Krypton in fifth, Akila the German there in sixth on debut, Jake Marsh in seventh, Smalley in eighth, Freddie there in ninth, and Chernal, the other German, ran off the top 10. Raphael there in 11th, Denzo in 12th, Dan Spreen in 13th, Nahima down in 14th, didn't get a valid lap time in, neither did Line Valid at the back end of the field either. In the end, though, Rowan out on top, nearly a 10th and a half of a second. Jensen, Kauflidis and Noah, though, 10th and a half, covering the top three, and if Jensen improved, I think he probably would have won pole there.
Yes, that was a really bizarre end to qualifying, actually, wasn't it? Is almost everybody failed to get anything good in their final run. Pretty much everybody blew their final runs. The only person that improved really properly on that final run was Noah. Smalley improved as well, but in the end he stayed 8th because he passed Fede and then got passed by Noah. So, yes, that was... Yeah, it was a really weird end to qualifying. Like you say, Jensen invalidated early on in the lap and backed off straight away. Rowan, before he crashed out, he actually crashed coming out of turn 6, but before that he was already a 10th down in the first sector on his personal best. Karafalidis was up and then he invalidated into the final part of the lap as well. So yeah, a lot of mistakes at the very end of that qualifying session. So I think that just kind of shows how difficult this track is. It's really, really hard to get a lap on the board. And I think Jensen proved that as well. Jensen second on the grid, only managed to actually set one valid lap in that entire session. It was the first one. It was enough to get him second on the grid, but yeah, only one valid run in that entire session for Jensen, and it cost him pole position.
It did cost him pole position, but it's the nature of the track, obviously, as we were saying there in qualifying. 30-second countdown is on, by the way. I think we've got a couple of drivers missing potentially. I know Smalley, I think, has left the session at the end of qualifying there as well. As we say, no adverts or follow-throughs here in terms of tonight. We thought it was a little bit disrespectful if we were showing adverts tonight, of course, with the news of Her Majesty's passing. Obviously, it doesn't really affect the royal family in our stage, but it's just showing a bit of a mark of respect from our end as well. Formation Lab, I believe, is not on, so we better get going, ready for action here in WOR for Season 13. Round 4 the championship about to begin here in Australia. The Red Bull of Rowan on the front row of the grid alongside Jensen. All 5 red lights are on, and it's lights out and away we go, and Rowan gets a very good start. Jensen is slow off the start as well, and Kauflidis might actually get him on the run down and towards turn number 1. Jensen now pulls the outside line to try and absolutely outmuscle Rowan through turn number 1. Everyone, I think, is clean through in the background. Rowan leads the way. Jensen second, Kauflidis in third. Denzel's gone for a spin coming out of turn number 1, so not everyone is clean through. Krypton on the back of Kauflidis on the run down and toward Whitfield corner at turn number 3, and going side by side as well, and behind is Jake Marsh and Akila, and Jake Marsh actually gets the move done. So he's through, he's into 6th. Akila there in 7th, Smalley there in 8th. Looking through the, that's the penalty. There's the tyres that everyone's on. Nahima, by the way, on a sort of soft compound of tyres. Very interesting. Chano and Raphael are fighting as well. They're both on a set of medium compound tyres. Dan Screen as well on a set of medium compound tyres. The weather may play a little bit of ball towards the end of this race, but Rowan out on top. Jensen in second. They pulled away 8.5 tenths of a second over Kauflidis, who seems quicker in a straight line compared to the front two. They'll try and draw them in on the run up towards turn 11.
Yeah, we'll see what Karafalidis can do, but a little bit of contact between Karafalidis and Noah at the first corner kind of dropped them back a little bit from the top two leaders. Good start from Kryptonite as well to get up to fourth and pass Noah in that situation as well. So both Mercedes drivers up a place at the start of this race. Looking at Cherno, he's on the medium compound tire trying to find a way through on Smalley around the outside of 12. That's never going to work. He runs wide in the end, and Raphael's going to try and capitalise on that one around the outside, gets the move done. So Raphael's now the lead driver on an alternate strategy to the top eight. The top eight all on that hard compound tire. Namaya now trying to get the move done on Cherno at the last corner as well, and now Cherno trying to get the move back down on Raphael down the pit straight. So it's all going on at the moment for the fight to be the lead driver on that alternate strategy, but then fighting amongst themselves is only holding them back at the moment, and the top eight on the hard compound tyres are just starting to get the tyres temperatures warmed up nicely, and their hard tyres will come into their own fairly soon.
Nahima trying to dive it down the inside line, and Cherno's gone a little bit deep in towards turn number 3. Nahima should try the up and under around the outside of turn number 4, and the soft compound tyre should be through. Cherno makes a slight mistake on the curb, and Nahima through on the set of softs. He's through and he's into 10th position. Cherno there on 11th, and Dan Screen I think has just got through a line. Violet, he's through, and he's into 12th position as well. Fetty has dropped off the pace as well, but Denzo also spun on the end of lap 1, or on lap 1 certainly. He's down the back of the field there in 15th. Rowan though leading the way, Jensen in 2nd, Cowfleas in 3rd. Everything settling down, of course, still the 29 laps that we've got in front of you, of course, here tonight. We did save the social race, by the way, in Australia earlier on in the season, before we actually started the season. This is our second time commentating together around Australia. It's Rowan out on top, Jensen 2nd, Cowfleas there in 3rd. Denzo, though, looking to try and make the move on Fetty. I think he has. Down towards turn 11, he gets the job done in the Alfa Romeo. Through and he's into 14th, and Dan Spring coming under sustained pressure there from Lion Violet towards the back end of the field. Everything, though, on massing toward the middle pack of the field. Aquila, Smalley, Raphael, Nahima seems to be the battle coming to the right-hander. Let's predict the pit stop strategy, by the way. So the softs take you to lap 7 to 9, lap 18 to 24 for 2-stop, and then lap 13 to 17, I think that was, on a set of hard compound tyres. We run a set of mediums toward the end of the race as Nahima tries to bear down on Raphael, and Raphael actually trying to bear down on Smalley, but I don't think anybody really is going to be close enough, apart from Fetty getting overtaken by Dan Spreen, or actually the other way around. Fetty around the outside of Dan Spreen, gets the job done, then he's into 14th.
Yeah, nice move. Dan's been really struggling with those tyres. I don't know if they're overheating already, but he's kind of sliding all over the place at the moment in traction zones. So, yeah, not looking too great. It's Fede already first time penalty of the race, 3 laps into this race. So, yeah, not a great start for the Alpine driver, unfortunately. He's now down in 14th and the only driver with a time penalty. Those on that alternate strategy, those mediums and softs, they're really not going anywhere at the moment, are they? They've not really gained any positions at all. Namaya's gained a couple from the start, but now he's just kind of stuck in a train and he can't really go anywhere. And that is just kind of half of the course with this kind of strategy. If you want to make this kind of strategy work, where you start in the mediums or the softs, you've got to gain the places really early on, maybe in the first couple of laps of the race before the DRS trains start to set in, and they've set in now and they've not really gone anywhere. So I feel like Raphael and Namaya's strategies are pretty much out the window already, unless we get a safety car in the next 5 laps or so that will play into their favour quite nicely. But if that doesn't happen, then they're kind of stuck in no man's land on a strategy that's not really favoured at all, as Line Violet, I think, has broken his front wing and is into the pit lane.
Yeah, no front wing at all for Line Violet coming into the pit lane. Not sure what actually happened. I think he might have spun coming out turn number 12, maybe in the wall on the right-hand side wall, potentially, and that's why Line Violet's into the pit lane. No safety car out on track, unfortunately, so that promise of safety car there being made by my co-commentator, not coming true so far. I think he might be the curse towards the end of the race, though, potentially. Rowan, though, leading the way. Jensen in 2nd, Cowfleas there in 3rd. Krypton in 4th. Krypton's actually got very good pace on the back of Cowfleas, of course. Cowfleas leading the EML driver standings, of course, at this moment in time. Jensen trying to close down as well on the back of Rowan. These two, of course, are pretty much hammer and tongue in it, with 11 points separating between both drivers, of course, coming into tonight, as Rowan, of course, in the championship lead. Jensen now trying to bear down in towards the right-hander of turn 11, with the DRS now opened up, ERS now opened up. He's going to try and go for the move down the right-hand side. In fact, actually, he backs off. These esports guys become predictable after a while. Should know what's coming next, but Rowan out on top, Jensen in 2nd, Cowfleas there in 3rd, Nahima's still on the back of Raphael further down the field.
Yeah, still a bit further down the field, definitely trying to look for a way through. Actually, one driver on the hard compound tyres I'm looking at the moment is Aquila in 7th position. He's spent the majority of this race really tucked close behind Jake Marsh in that Mercedes, and I think he's just kind of waiting for a mistake for the Mercedes to capitalise in that 7th place. So look out for Aquila. He's got some pretty decent pace at the moment on those hard compound tyres. And yeah, you mentioned it earlier on, but Karafalidis, he's used a bit more ERS, but he definitely has got a very good car in a straight line. He pulled a lot of time on Kryptonite in the middle part of that lap last time around. So yeah, Karafalidis has clearly set his car up not to be too great the 1st and 3rd, to be but to be a bit of a pain in the second part of the lap where where a lot of the overtaking is set up and done. So yeah, that is why Carafelides is dropping back a little bit in the first part of the lap, but then gaining back all the time pretty much he lost in the first sector in the second part. So yeah, great car in a straight line for Carafelides. That's going to be a real pain for a lot of these drivers if they come up behind Carafelides at some point in this race, as well as Nemaya again trying to get the move done on Raphael on the run down towards now turn 9 and 10, and Raphael already derating, and Nemaya's thinking thank you very much. He's given an open door for him, and Nemaya now up into 9th position as Rowan, our race leader, first driver that's really a part of the front pack of this race to get a time penalty and only 5 laps in as well. That's going to be of course a concern for the later part of this race for Rowan as well.
Yeah, definitely will. Nahima though through, and he's into 9th position. Raphael there down in 10th position. He's on that sort of mediums though. The mediums are going to come into play from around this part in the race. By the way, in terms of the camera angles that we're getting, it is very dark and it's not raining out on track, I don't think, unless my eyesight is deceiving me. Yeah, it's not raining out on track, it's just the shadows that is deceiving me. So I thought it was raining on the end of that lap there, but Rowan leads the way. Jensen in second, Carafelides in third. Lap 6 out of 29, pretty much a quarter way through the race at this point. Nahima and Smalley now under pressure as well. In fact, actually, Smalley's been overtaken by Nahima, so Nahima through, and he's into 8th position. Smalley there down in 9th. Raphael there down in 10th as well. He's doing a good job there on that sort of soft compound tyres for now. And the Aston Martin, he can gain, obviously within a second of Aquila, he is going to be laughing potentially race. But Rowan leading the way from Jensen there in second. Carafelides currently there in third. Apologies if we just dipped out there slightly, as there is a spinner through the middle sector, and I think that's Dan Spreen that's ran out of turn 6.
Yeah, it is Dan Spreen. Unfortunately, his race is just not going well, and it's a front wing loss as well for the Aston Martin driver. So, yeah, a bit of a pain. He's really struggled with that car, hasn't he? Any time we've gone on board or near Dan Spreen, he's just kind of sliding all over the place. So that car is very on edge and a bit hard to drive. So, yeah, not surprised to see him in the wall and damaging his front wing after spinning at the very same corner in qualifying as well. So, yeah, Dan Spreen and Alone Violet, the two drivers that have had the worst races so far, having picked up damage, both of them at some point in this race so far. I'm going to keep my eye on Nemaya now, see what he can do about the hard runners in front, because he's caught the back of Aquila very, very quickly, and Smalley on his hard compound tyre seems to be struggling a lot for grip, because sliding all over the place, and now Raphael on the back of the McLaren, maybe thinking about a move on the run towards 1, but not quite close enough. But yeah, I do worry a bit about Smalley here on the tyres. It's not looking comfortable at all. It's low on ERS, and the car is really, really twitchy.
Yeah, really twitchy indeed. Raphael, though, is very low on ERS as well. In fact, he's low on fuel as well as Raphael, so that is why I think it has been gated somewhat, and that is why Raphael's just gone way too deep into the right-hander at turn number 3, and now gives Cherno, his potential rival, of course, in F2, on the back. Dan Spreen, by the way, did put a comment section in saying he might not last 10 laps. He's lasted 7 laps at least, but he has retired coming into pit lane. Unfortunately, he's the first retirement out on track tonight, as Krypton is on the back of Carafelides, who makes a huge mistake out of 6 and 7, and now Krypton is through and he's into third, and Noah's right involved in this as well for the battle for third. So Carafelides had a huge moment somewhere out on track, I think through turn number 6. So that is why he is now nearly ran, and Noah's right on the back of him, coming out the chicane of turn 9 and 10 on the road towards turn 11. Carafelides is now going to pull out the slipstream to the right-hand side of Krypton. Noah's going to try and follow through as well. Krypton hangs it around the outside on the Mercedes. The McLaren's still hanging in there though. Carafelides, they make contact, wheel banging out of turn 11, still side by side, and Noah gets caught up. Oh, and Jake Marsh has been caught up there as well. Jake Marsh, I think, has got damage. 3 wide as well in towards turn 11 as a result, or turn 13 as a result. Jake Marsh going side by side as well. Aquila nearly caught up in that. Raphael nearly caught up in that. A few position gains and losses there. Rowan leads the way, Jensen second. Carafelides there in third. All of that spawned basically from Carafelides and Krypton going side by side, and Noah getting caught up. Wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, Noah just, I don't think, recognised that the two drivers in front of him were side by side and just drove clean into the back, unfortunately, of Carafelides and spun himself out. And yeah, it's caught my end, but yeah, Keeler caught up in that as well. The one driver that benefited massively from that is Nemaya. He's now 5th all of a sudden on those soft compound tyres. He's now right up there in the top 5 fighting Kryptonite and Carafelides for the final spot on the podium. And now this strategy for Nemaya is starting to play into his favour. It's all kicked off in front of him, and now he's got an open window to try and score some good points in this race, especially if Jake Marsh and Aquila do have a little bit of damage behind him.
Yeah, it's a shame Raphael right on the back though. Jake Marsh has been sent round, I think, as well. He's just spun coming through the left-hand return number 9 there. Raphael's on the back of Cherno though, on the side by side in towards turn number 13. Apologies, by the way, if we are dropping a bit of frames. Not sure what's going on in terms of the stream. Raphael through though, he's into 8th. Cherno there down to 9th, and Noah's still on the back of him there in 10th position. Hopefully we're back live though. Hopefully we're still all catching. Rowan leads the way, Jensen second, Carafelides there in third. Nahima though into the pit lane, and Krypton's right on the back of Carafelides on the run down in towards turn number 1. The Mercedes on the back of the McLaren in towards this right-hander of turn number 1. Maybe down towards turn number 3 at Whitfield Corner, potentially for the Mercedes. Gets a good run out, and Krypton now opens up the EOS. Bit twitchy on the exit, but now side by side, running down the straight in towards turn number 3. Kyle Feliz will not give this one up easily. Maybe a little bit too easy. He's trying to go for the switchback out of turn number 3. Now through turn 4, Krypton's got the move and he's through and he's into 3rd. Kyle Feliz there in 4th, and Smalley there now beginning to catch there in 5th as a result of that battle between Krypton and Kyle Feliz. As the front 2, there's a spinner, I think that's Jake Marsh coming out of the pit lane, who was just nearly spun. Front 2, 6.2 seconds clear of Krypton and Kyle Feliz, as Rowan leads the way.
Yeah, they've completely driven away at the front, haven't they? All of that carnage behind us just let the top 2 completely disappear at the front of the field now. And yeah, I think Carafelides maybe recognising Kryptonite's got a bit of a better car underneath him and is maybe going to try and use Kryptonite as a way to move forwards. But as I say, that is right on the back of the Mercedes once again, and is going to go down the inside actually on the run towards turn 11, try and outbrake the Mercedes, and does so quite easily, nicely on the brakes there from the McLaren, and gets the move back done on the Mercedes quite nicely. So yeah, I was just about to say that Carafelides might use Kryptonite to work themselves forwards a little bit. He's got the move done, he's back up into 3rd, but all this fight has put them 7 seconds off the top 2 who have just completely driven off. And this is a great opportunity now for Nemaya as well, who's just pitted for those hard compound tyres. He's now in some real clean air and has a great opportunity to really pump in some great lap times, as we've now got a full safety car for some... Is it for Noah? Is it for Noah's Noah picked up damage? Well, if that is the case, then I think that potentially could have played nicely into Nemaya's hands, because he is... Well, I say that. If Nemaya had stayed out for another lap, it would have played nice into his hands. But I think a lot of other people are going to pit now. Either way, he's on a set of hard compound tyres that will go to the end. A lot of the hard runners are going to have to go for the mediums, and I don't think the mediums are going to be able to do 2019 laps.
Yeah, sort of smashing the front wing coming out of the final corner. It's Noah, obviously, that is got no front wing out on track in the Ferrari, so therefore he's in 11th position. Nahima there in 12th has missed the pit lane as well, as has Noah, so they're obviously going round for another lap out on track. Lambotta and Jake Marshall pitting in, using that opportunity to pit in as well. We are going on to lap 10, or we're already on lap 10 out of 29. The front runners are going about, the back runners, I should say, about to go on to lap 10 out of 29. Rowan leading the way, Jensen 2nd, Kyle Feliz in 3rd. At least it brings everyone back together, but this is not really going to help out Rowan, is it? He's got a 3-second penalty for his name. Jensen was hounding him on the back. It was about 8-9 tenths of a second, so he was keeping tabs on the back of Rowan, who just seemed like he had the pace over Jensen. These guys are now in. What do they decide to do? 19 laps on a set of mediums on this game and on this track, I don't think it's going to work.
No, I don't think it's going to work either. I think it's a real risky strategy, but I think it is really the only thing they can do, because they can't really do anything else. They're going to have to hope maybe for another safety car to bail them out, or they're just going to have to drive very, very cautiously for this race. But yeah, not what they would have wanted at all. It doesn't play into their strategy nicely at all. It's really not helped them one iota, and especially Rowan, like I say, with that time penalty, that is going to be looming over his head for the rest of this race. And while he only had Jensen to worry about, he's now got to worry about a lot of other people at the same time that he didn't have to before that. So yeah, I think it's a real shame, unfortunately, for Rowan in that sense. But that's the problem you get when you get a penalty early on in these races. It can come back to bite you if you get a safety car. Is just coming out of the pit lane, everybody on the medium compound tyres, apart from Raphael and Cherno, which is not surprised they started on the medium compound tyres. And Nemaya now still 5th on those hard compound tyres that we know can get to the end of the race. So strategy and tyre-wise, Nemaya, Raphael and Cherno, I think, are the only ones that we can guarantee will get to the end of the race. The rest of them, I don't know. It's a bit nip and tuck. It's going to be very difficult.
Feddy on a set of soft compound tyre, by the way, down in 10th position as well. Very interesting strategy from Feddy to go on that set of soft compound tyre. Obviously expecting another safety car. Obviously wants to try and get them out of the way. And then if another safety car comes out in 3 or 4 laps, he's actually laughing, because he can go on that set of mediums, be on fresher tyres than everyone else, get them to the end of the race, and perhaps even win while doing that as well. The Shazoo man there in 10th position has got a penalty to his name. And speaking of the penalties so far on track, Rowan with a 3-second penalty, Freddy with a 3-second, and Jake Marsh with a 3-second there down in 14th position. Currently only one retirement, of course, Dan Spreen, lasting only 7 laps. Unfortunately, he's down there, obviously in 15th position, out of the race. He's still sitting watching in the lobby, which is good. But Rowan leads the way, Jensen 2nd, Kyle Feliz there in 3rd, Nahima there in 5th now, obviously, as a result of staying out on that sort of hard compound tyres. Even me saying 19 laps on a set of mediums, 21 laps on a set of hard compound tyres. Is that even possible on this game? It wasn't the last game. Is it going to be possible, though, obviously, with only one compound tyre that they've got at their readiness?
I think it will be possible, definitely. I don't think they're going to be great by any stretch of the imagination coming to the end of the race. I don't think the tyre's going to do that well, but it will get to the end of the race. The one thing that is good for Nemaya is that he's got more of a chance of getting to the end of the race than everybody else around him. So that is one thing he can take into this, is that while it may be a bit nip and tuck for him as well on those hard compound tyres, everybody else around him in his close vicinity is actually even in even worse positions. So that is one thing that he can help with as well, as Fede comes into the pit lane and puts on a set of medium compound tyres. So I'm not quite sure why he decided to come in for a set of softs in that sense. So maybe, yeah, not quite sure why he's coming for a set of softs, because if you came in for the set of mediums, he would have done the 2 compound rule anyway. So I think Fede's maybe just cost himself a couple bits of track position there by doing that.
Yeah, he has lost himself 3 positions as a result, so Denzo, Noah and Lion Bollock now all ahead of him as a result. Jake Marsh is the only man behind him out on track currently there in 14th after a very promising qualifying session from Jake Marsh. He's down there in 14th, unfortunately for him, finding the same form that he's been finding in PSGL F2, unfortunately. Maybe I am his curse coming into tonight's race here in WOR. Rowan, though, leading the way, Jensen second, Cowfleas and third, about to go on to lap 13. I have a feeling the safety car is going to be in this lap, so of course Rowan will be the virtual Burt Malander. Saying that, there's the safety car coming in this lap. Now Rowan is the virtual Burt Malander. He's now the virtual safety car. Jensen there in second, Cowfleas in third. I honestly think, watch out for Cowfleas up this start. If he's got a quick car in a straight line, and he's now in a sort of medium compounded tyres, what could he do on the back of Jensen and Rowan? Watch out for him in this race.
Yeah, definitely watch out for him. Like you say, he could be one to pick off the fight. And if Jensen wants to get ahead of Rowan, then Kafalidis can easily pick off the pieces and try and get in amongst that as well. So, yeah, definitely people to look out for at the safety car restart. We'll try and keep an eye on what everybody is doing. But Rowan is backing them up big time, really slowing down. I think he's going to go early and try and use some of that pace of the mediums to go a bit earlier and use a couple of corners to help him pull away.
Yeah, potentially so. Out of turn number 12, I'm thinking here, this is turn number 12, so I'm thinking maybe out of here, the safety car's already in the pit lane. On the exit of turn, yeah, is he going now? No, he still doesn't want to go. Lion Bottom, Noah's having a change of position further down the field. Rowan, by the way, is on very low fuel as well. So Rowan causing an absolute chaos here, still hasn't gone. Coming out the final corner, on the run to the line. Jensen, I think, is going to try and back up Cowfleas here. Now he says, go, and Jensen spins to the wall! Jensen spins on the wall, and that is not ideal. If that was choreographed, that is not choreographed at all. Rowan leads the way. Cowfleas now in second. Jensen's out the way, and Cowfleas now is on the back of Rowan, who's got a 3-second penalty. May as well, and Jensen's out of the race. Jensen out of the race, loses it through turn number 2. Unfortunately for him, I don't think there'll be a safety car coming out on track this early on. Smalley and Nahima, Aquila losing positions as well. Dental losing positions further down the field. The sun about to blaze through the clouds here in Australia as well. Rowan leads the way. Cowfleas there in second. Krypton there in third. Smalley in fourth. Absolute disaster of the start from Jensen. And his championship hopes now, for now at least, going up in flames.
Yeah, that is a big hit for Jensen to crash out like that, and that is just his own mistake, wasn't it? Getting on the power far too early on the safety car restart and driving himself into the wall, unfortunately, and that is, yeah, game over for Jensen as Aquila gets the move back. Don and Raphael back up into 6th place.
Oh, no.
They're trying to go 3 wide. They were trying to go 3 wide into turn 9. That was never going to work. And Chono's gone around. Raphael has gone around as well. Noah's been caught up in the aftermath. That was really messy racing into turn 9 and 10. 3 wide into there was never going to work. And the only driver that got away with it was Denzo in the end. He is the only one that got away from that unscathed, now up into 7th place. So, yeah, really, really messy lap for a lot of drivers. Jensen out of the race. Raphael, Noah and Chono's race is all heavily compromised now with that mistake through that chicane. And, yeah, Rowan in the lead. But we were saying it like about 5 minutes ago that the VSR duo had just driven off at the front of the field and were looking to dominate this race, and now Jensen's out of the race and Rowan is sitting in the lead but with a time penalty, so at the moment isn't the net leader. So yeah, it's all kind of fallen apart a little bit for the two at the front, but golden opportunity now for Rowan to really extend his championship lead. Yeah,
Jake Marsh, by the way, around the outside of Lion Volot. Not sure if Lion Volot maybe have a little bit of damage off that lap as Jake Marsh is through and he's into 9th. Denzo, by the way, I want the WOR account. Whoever's in charge of this YouTube account, please clip that, because Denzo quite literally parted the Red Sea in terms of the spins of Noah and Raphael there. It was absolutely unbelievable to watch from his POV. incredible skill to even get through both of them. He could have been easily caught up in the incident. He wasn't. Parting of the Red Sea. Denzo is quite literally Moses, I think, out on track tonight. He's there in 7th position. Freddy there in 8th. And unfortunately for Raphael and Noah, of course, getting caught on each other twice. In terms of that, I think Noah's got maybe left side end plate damage as well on the car. He has indeed. Raphael there pulling away. I don't think he's got damage. Maybe side pod damage, looking at the scoring there of the car down the straight. But Rowan leads the way. Cowfley is in 2nd. Krypton there in 3rd. Smalley in 4th. It's now got a little bit quiet as we approach the halfway stage, of course, here in Australia. Rowan, though, 1.1 seconds. Cowfley's had the pressure on him at the end of the first lap. Now with the DRS, of course, being enabled, Rowan getting away, and Cowfley's just made a big mistake coming through turn number 2.
Yeah, he's really pushing his Carafilides to try and keep up with Rowan and try and stay in the DRS range as Noah's retired in the pit lane, so it is game over now for both Ferraris. That is an absolute disaster for them. But yeah, Carafilides is pushing really hard to try and keep within DRS range. His one saving grace is that Rowan has burnt all of his ERS in these last couple of laps trying to pull away, and Carafilides does have something left in his bank to try and use down this back straight where he's been fast all race long. He's been so fast in a straight line. You can see him now using that ERS when Rowan can't do the same, and Carafilides is just edging closer and closer to the back of that Red Bull. The DRS detection point is just around this corner. He needs to use his ERS just a little bit more. It was bang on a second. I don't know if he got it or not, but he hasn't got it. No, he kind of let go of his DRS a little bit too early, because in the end he ended up missing the DRS detection point and not getting DRS down towards turn 11. So he had all of that in his bank. He used it at the start and then didn't use it when he actually critically needed it at the end of the straight. So that's cost him a little bit of time there, but he is comfortably within DRS range this time around through that detection point. So Carafilides is now back within DRS range of Rowan, and now all he needs to really do is just try and cling onto the back of the Red Bull for the rest of the race while they drop Kryptonite. I thought Kryptonite would be all over the back of Carafilides, considering how good that car has been so far in this race, but Kryptonite at the moment really struggling to keep up with Carafilides and Rowan. Is actually a little bit under pressure now from Smalley behind.
Yeah, Smalley in the 4th, doing well, and of course in this McLaren looking better on terms of the stint as well. Freddie just picked up another 3-second penalty coming out turn number 2 as well, but Rowan leading the way. Cowfley is there in 2nd. Krypton there in 3rd. Cowfley is desperately trying to stay within that 2nd. Rowan, by the way, I think the gap obviously drew down to 0.8 of a second. I think he made a mistake coming out of turn number 12, that last lap around, and that's why Cowfley is closed in. Got the DRS when he did. It did pop up, by the way, on my end that he did have the DRS, so he didn't actually get it in terms of the detection point. That is how close and how glitchy this game is in terms of the timings. I think, though, this time around he's going to be a little bit more comfortable. He's 9/10 within, and Cowfley is gaining 2/10 on the run down into the left-hander of turn 9 and 10. But obviously he's not going to be close enough for the move. Is Smalley going to be close enough for the move? On the back of Krypton, 5/10 away, running through the right-hander of the King, running up towards turn 11, down the back straight here. Nobody, though, going to be close enough for the move. Rowan leads the way. Cowfley is in 2nd. Krypton there in 3rd. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. I know Legacy has been streaming live as well. We've only got 9 viewers, unfortunately, on the stream. One of them is me as well, so we've only actually got 8 of you. So thank you to the 8 of you that are actually tuning in, and you're not going to be getting a Jamesy No-No. Speaking of Jamesy No-Nos, Krypton has just picked up a 3-second penalty out of the final corner.
Yeah, another driver with a time penalty. So, yeah, the only one in the top 4 at the moment without a penalty is Carafilides in that 2nd position, just trying to cling on to what is the net race lead at the moment in that McLaren and pulling away from the drivers behind it. This also puts Nemaya now into podium position with the 2 drivers in front with a time penalty, and we've still got 13 laps to go where those hard tyres can come into play. So I was expecting Nemaya maybe to drop off a little bit, maybe drop behind the likes of Aquila and Denzo, but in fact he's not really lost anything. He lost out initially at the restart to Smalley, but then he's just kind of been sitting there running at the same pace already as the medium tyre runners. So I think that bodes well for Nemaya for the rest of this race, that he's already on the pace of the medium runners around him as it stands. He just doesn't want to let Rowan and Carafilides get too far up the road, so that if they do start to wear out their medium compound tyres, he can't capitalise on it. So yeah, we'll see what Nemaya can do, but at the moment right now it's just smart to sit behind the 2 drivers in front, let them pull you along, and then when those medium tyres do start to wear out and start to slide all over the place, Nemaya is the first person in line to capitalise on it.
Yeah, he looks a lot quicker, by the way, coming through turn 9 and 10. Smalley made a slight mistake, and Nahima actually caught about 2/10 of a second there on the back of Smalley and Krypton. And Krypton is actually coming back into the latches of Smalley as well. So this is all going to play into the hands of Nahima. As long as he stays, and that plays into the hands of Nahima, especially because Smalley's just spun out the final corner through on toward the line. Krypton now in 3rd, Nahima in 4th, and that, I think, is now a VSC. Out on track, I can't see a yellow dot in the pit lane, so that is a VSC deployed, and that is the reason why Smalley spinning out the final corner. Think Jensen, just 10 times worse coming out the final corner.
Yeah, that is a real shame for Smalley. Smalley was having a pretty solid race, and McLaren as a team were having a solid race as well. But yeah, that is a crucial mistake, unfortunately. And seeing a lot of drivers just spin on their own at the moment, aren't we? Just not comfortable with the track. It's so bumpy as well out of that final corner that if you're on the curb or skating along the curb or just a little bit offline, then you can just spin so easily. We've seen it 3 times already tonight with different drivers. We've seen both Ferraris have a spin there, and now we can add Smalley to that list. So yeah, real shame there for Smalley. Was having a pretty decent race, potentially fighting for a top 5, but yeah, that is not going to be the case now, sadly, for Smalley, and that puts, like you say, Nemaya up into 4th and Akila up into 5th. Remember, Akila debuting tonight in this top division and are flying under the radar at the moment, not having the most spectacular race, but he's got pretty solid pace, and he's matching a lot of the drivers around him who you would expect to be a lot faster. So Akila doing a pretty solid job as it stands in that 5th position in that AlphaTauri fighting Denzo at the moment, who is a solid top tier driver. So yeah, look out for Akila. He could be a name to look out for in the future.
Yeah, Akila definitely impressing me so far in terms of his pace. Obviously, looking to try and be maybe a tier 1 driver in the future. It's only 4 rounds into the championship, so still ample amount of time, obviously, to try and change over. Akila there in 5th position, Denzel there in 6th. Penalties, by the way, update on this. Rowan 3 seconds, Krypton 3 seconds, Freddy on 6, Jake Marsh on 3, Smalley on 3, and Chernal there down at the back, who's just been in for a set of hard compound tyres. He's also in on 3 seconds worth of penalties. Smalley obviously into the pit lane. Wouldn't be surprised actually if he does actually retire from this race, but why would he? He's on a set of soft compound tyres. He can go fastest lap of the race as well, so pick up that extra point, and he's in 11th position as well, so there's always a chance of picking up points towards the end of the race, potentially out on track. Rowan though leading the way. Hopefully this has just not kept the pace at all compared to Rowan out in front. Rowan obviously a class above the rest so far here tonight, obviously extend his championship lead no matter what happens, unless he DNFs of course in the next 10 laps or so, but he's obviously extending his championship lead over Jensen as it stands. The gap I think is going to be 36 points potentially as it stands, compared to him and Jensen at least. And Rowan so far looking absolutely dominant out on track. Hopefully, as I say, just hasn't got the pace to keep up, but if he stays within 3 seconds of him, it'll be alright. But I have a feeling Rowan has got the pace to pull away 3 seconds and maybe a bit more.
Yeah, I think Rowan on the face of it does have the pace, but as it seems, yeah, just running on Bulbacar for leaders at the moment, the car is very understeery in the high-speed corners. He's got so much straight-line speed on the run from 6 all the way down to the chicane at 9 and 10, and then he turns into turn 9, and nothing really happens. The car just kind of misses the corner and the apex. So, yeah, all the time he's gaining on the straight. It would be great if it was in DRS range of Rowan, but because he hasn't got the cornering speed, he can't keep up with Rowan and can't stay within DRS range. So, yeah, I think maybe carefully there's maybe gone a little bit too far with his setup in trying to make it fast in a straight line, which is actually compromising him from keeping up with Rowan in the first place to use that straight line speed. So, yeah, we'll see what Rowan and Carafelides can do. Of course, we've still got tyre wear to factor into this as well. So Rowan could be pushing a bit harder on his tyres and could wear his tyres out a bit quicker. Carafelides could be a bit nicer on his tyres. So we've got to keep an eye on that for the rest of this race as well as it goes on. So yeah, but at the moment, if it's just based on raw pace, Rowan does seem to have this in the bag at the moment. He is just edging further and further away from the McLaren.
Yeah, watch out for Denzo, by the way, in 6th position on the back of Akila. Akila looking in 5th position at this moment in time, and Denzo has a big step up overseas. He's going to lose the position there to Fetty. So Fetty through and he's into 6th, recovering well. And actually, that gamble from a set of softs, pitting into a set of mediums, has actually worked out for him, even though he is on, I think it's 6 seconds worth of penalties. Yeah, 6 seconds worth of penalties. Jake Marsh, though, I think has also got 6 seconds now. He has indeed. Yeah. So that is going to help him out a little bit, with the line Violet about 5 seconds off the pace as well compared to Fetty. Fetty is going forwards. Line Violet you can only imagine as going backwards, and Fetty at the minute, 6th position, that might turn into a top 5 finish before the end of this race, as Rowan obviously still leads the way. Hopefully he's in second, another 4/10 gain the last lap around there as Nahima makes a mistake coming out of turn number 1 and 2 as Krypton pulls away from him. That medium compound time maybe getting that second win potentially as Akila also trying to drag in on the back of Nahima, who's there in 4th. Akila still impressing me though in 5th position. Now within that DRS range is absolutely crucial to him to obviously try and gain in terms of the result out on track. Freddy and Denzo 6th and 7th, Jake Marsh and 8th. Smalley fast stop the race there down in 11th. He's Line Violet's just picked up a 3-second penalty as well. And Line Violet in 9th, Raphael in 10th, Small in 11th, Cherno Baba, I should say. I was going to say Cherno Bay. Not a bay to me at all. I said in 12th position. Cherno there in 12th, doing a good job. But Rowan leading the way. Hopefully is in 2nd, Krypton in 3rd. As I say, Rowan now pulling away 2.5 seconds the gap. That will be maybe double that by the end of the race.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna be above 3, isn't it? It's gonna be close to 4, maybe 5 seconds, like you say, depending on what the tyre wear is like. And
Ah.
never mind, doesn't have to worry about a time penalty anymore because Carafalidis has just extended track limits, and that is now our top 3 all with a time penalty. So now we have to focus on what Nemaya can do and whether Nemaya can get within range of Carafalidis and steal a second place from this race, and whether Aquila can get within range as well and maybe steal a podium off of Carafalidis and Kryptonite on his first attempt in this top division. So yeah, that'd be interesting to see whether they close in. I think now that Carafalidis has lost the toe, lost the DRS, lost the reference points of Rowan in front, Kryptonite is just starting to edge just ever so slowly back towards Carafalidis. So I think if Kryptonite can drag himself up to the back of the McLaren and drag Nemaya and Aquila with him, Nemaya and Aquila are in prime position here to steal the final 2 spots on the podium.
Yeah, definitely so. Nemaya obviously doing a good job there in 4th position. Aquila there in 5th. Aston Martin, AlphaTauri perhaps are going to be battling toward the end of the race in terms of their positions there as well. Krypton is picking up the pace now. It's 2.5 seconds all of a sudden over Nahima. Sorry, 2.5 seconds behind Carafalidis. Carafalidis obviously with that 3-second penalty knows he's beginning to drop off. So I wonder if he's going to become a bit of no man's land in 2nd position. I mean, considering he takes turn 11 like that, I don't think he's actually going to get to the end of the race with 3 seconds worth of penalties, because that was a clear-cut penalty there from him in 2nd position. The Greek man, of course, doing well. I know he was saying to me a little bit earlier on that he was hoping for a really good result coming into tonight, and Carafalidis in 2nd position, currently doing a good job, as we allude to, but left 23 out of 29 about to begin. Rowan leading the way. Carafalidis there in 2nd, Krypton there in 3rd, as everything is just a little bit boring. You see something in the background though? Was that Aquila making a mistake?
No, it's Kryptonite having a big old wobble actually coming out of the final corner. Did well to hold on to it, but I wonder if we're just now starting to see those medium tyres go off a little bit for these drivers, because Carafalidis was, like you say, extending left, right and centre at the chicane, and Kryptonite is kind of sliding all over the place in traction zone. So I wonder if we're just starting to see now these medium tyres reach the last part of their life. They're just starting to slide around a little bit, and Nemaya is looking a bit more comfortable in that 4th position. So got to keep an eye on that. By the way, in all of that me talking, Smalley's had a spin through the turn 9 and 10 chicane, and I would not be surprised if this is a retirement for the McLaren in the pit lane. He is sped into the pit lane. So, and there you go, right on cue, Smalley has retired from this race. So that's our 4th retirement now out of this one. Only 11 drivers left in this race, unfortunately, which is sad to see, as Nemaya, yeah, in that 4th position, I think is just starting to catch wind. Maybe the Kryptonite is struggling a bit on his tyres, because he is right up behind the Mercedes now, getting a bit closer. Surely there's only a couple of laps now before Nemaya has to get this move done and then see if he can chase after Carafalidis in front.
If you were in Nemaya's shoes on the back of Krypton, what would you do? Would you save the ERS or go for the move now, which I'm expecting them to?
I think give it a couple of laps. I think, yeah, maybe wait till lap 25, maybe save a little bit of ERS, wait till 25, get the move done, and then really, really push with that little bit of extra ERS that you've got left. Push really, really hard while those on the medium tyres in front of you are just starting to struggle that little bit more, and you'll gain even more lap time out of the drivers in front as further down. Jake Marsh is the next victim of the final corner. He's had a spin and he's lost his front wing completely, so he's got to do a full lap without a front wing, unfortunately, is Jake Marsh. So his race has gone from bad to worse to, well, absolutely dreadful, I think is the only way to really put it, unfortunately.
Even if he pits in, though, and he loses 10 seconds worth of time on this lap, he's still going to be picking up points, because Chernow's 47 seconds behind him out on track, and that is easily a free pit stop. Even maybe two free pit stops potentially for Jake Marsh, as he's there in 9th position. Obviously will pick up points. He may as well still continue on regardless. Rowan leading the way, Carafalidis in 2nd. Now gap above 3 seconds. Doesn't really matter though, because Carafalidis has got that penalty. Of course, Nahima again, similar to Carafalidis, looks very quick in the straight line. Coming through the corners though, this chicane, normally quite quick through, but he loses time on the exit there, and he lost a 10th of a second there. Chernow, by the way, is into the pit lane, and now Jake Marsh will definitely be picking up points, because Chernow's now retired into the pit lane. Disappointing for him. Understand he's running at the back there. 5-second penalty, by the way, for Smalley for speeding in the pit lane. I think it was just him taking the anger potentially out on the track here tonight rather than on himself. Rowan though leading the way. Carafalidis in 2nd, Krypton in 3rd, Nahima there currently on the mire, I should say. Currently there in 4th position. Yellow flags in sector 1 are for, I think, just the
Jonas
AI
car.
car coming out the pit. Yeah, Jono coming out the pit lane. And Jake Marsh coming out through the final corner. Is he going to be the next retirement potentially out on track? Into the pit lane he comes, in a bright blue sunny sky. Freddy has spun coming out of turn number 1, has actually been overtaken by Denzo coming out of turn number 1. So Denzo doing his into 6th. Freddy down into 7th, and I think that was a clear-cut mistake there from the Alpine as Jake Marsh set us off compound tyre. Fresh wing change, may as well go to the end. Fastest lap of the race is probably in the bag. And Denzo has got a 5-second penalty for ignoring the yellow flag, which is just very strange. I think he's actually trying to slow him down and let Penny through, maybe down the straight here.
I think he's trying to let him through, but he's already got the penalties. So there's no point letting him through now. We got the move done while his AI car was still out on track in front of him, so that's why he's ended up picking the penalty. By the way, something has happened to Karafalidis because he has dropped way off the back of row now, 4.5 seconds, and Kryptonite's within 1.5 seconds. And crucially, Nemaya and Aquila are now both within penalty range of Karafalidis for second place. So Karafalidis has made a mistake on that previous lap. I don't know if he's hit the wall somewhere or whether he's just had a little bit of a moment in a traction zone, but he's lost a lot of time and he's continuing to lose time now. So yeah, Karafalidis really starting to struggle. You can see on those medium tyres, he's just starting to slide about a little bit all over the place, and Kryptonite is closing in very, very quickly. If you can get within DRS range of that McLaren, then Nemaya doesn't have to do any overtaking. I think Rowan is out of the picture unless Rowan gets a puncture. If Nemaya can just keep within DRS range of Kryptonite, and Kryptonite can get within DRS range of Karafalidis, then he can just follow them home and pick up the second place.
Yeah, definitely so. He's 1.1 seconds. Maybe Karafalidis hit the wall, potentially somewhere right on track. I was thinking he might have had left side end plate damage, potentially on the car, or certainly winglet damage on the car. He hasn't got end plate damage. That is crucial, but Krypton is gaining. 1.1 seconds. This cannot be... Honestly, it's now a second. This cannot be him dropping off in terms of the tyres, because Krypton has looked very fresh on those tyres throughout this race. It's a second. Karafalidis, though, with the benefit of the straight, is actually pulling away, and he's actually pulled out of DRS range. 2 Krypton there in third, Nahima there in fourth, and Nemaya there in fourth on the back of the Aston Martin, cuts the chicane there slightly through turn 10, and actually he's on the back of Krypton, running in towards turn 11, maybe going up for the move in towards Ascari. Doesn't get the move done, and Nemaya on the back of Krypton, third and fourth position. Karafalidis, as a result of that, pulls away 1.3 seconds. But it's now coming to a crescendo. Rowan leading the way. Karafalidis second, the spinner, and that is Jake Marshram coming out of turn 5.
Yeah, another spin, unfortunately, in this race for Jake Marsh in 10th, but like you say, still picking up the points, so may as well just keep going as it stands. And yeah, Karafalidis, there must be some, like, a little bit of damage that we can't see on that McLaren, because all of a sudden his pace has just completely fallen off. And while there may be a little bit of a mistake in that, Kryptonite picks up another penalty, unfortunately, so that is side still delivered. His chance at a podium is now completely gone, unfortunately, is Kryptonite. So luckily for him, the drivers behind Nemaya and Aquila are 3 seconds back and also have time penalties, so he's not under threat of losing a top 5 at the moment, so it's not going to affect him much more than it already was. But yeah, just another penalty for them, unfortunately. But yeah, Karafalidis really struggling now in these more high downforce sections of the track. So yeah, surely there's some sort of damage on the front of that McLaren, because he's really struggling for the pace and he's dropped off so much from Rowan in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I'm just looking, maybe it's right side end plate damage. There's a winglet potentially missing off the right side end plate. Krypton, though, losing again down the time in the straight. It's 1.3 seconds once again. Nemaya is right on the back there once again. On and up towards the Ascari right-hand return, number 11, of course. Not to be confused with the corner in Italy, in Monza, of course. Rowan will lead the way. Karafalidis second. Krypton there in third. Nemaya there in fourth. Quickly look at the comment section. Nobody has replied to us. Thank you very much for tuning in to everyone in the comment section. Nemaya, though, on the back of Krypton. Do the right-hander of the final corner. On the run toward the line. 2 laps to go. Rowan leads the way. Karafalidis second. Krypton in third. It looks like the front two are secure in terms of their position. However, though, Aquila, with no penalties, could be landing himself a potential second position here.
I think it's going to be a third. Yeah, Nemaya still without a penalty on his end as well, is looking set for that second position. But yeah, Aquila, if he can just keep within DRS range of Nemaya, is well within prime position to take third here on his debut in the top division. So it's been a great race. Like I said earlier on, he's flown under the radar. He's not made any massive headlines in this race, but he's just driven sensibly. He's avoided all problems, made the overtake sticks when he's needed to, and has kept pace with drivers in front of him who are at the very top of WOR. So yeah, brilliant stuff from Aquila so far in this race. See if he can hold on for another lap and a half and get his first podium in this top division. As you can see, Nemaya again getting closer and closer to the back of Kryptonite. I think this time around Nemaya wants to get the move done. I think Karafalidis, I don't know if Kryptonite is struggling for pace a little bit or something, but Kryptonite has dropped a few tenths of a second on this previous lap and is dropping even more time now. And Kryptonite, big snap of oversteer there through turn number 10, and that is open door for Nemaya. He is not waiting any longer as Kryptonite actually drives into the side of the Aston Martin there. I think in almost desperation trying to defend from the AlphaTauri behind. Nemaya is through, but Kryptonite has dropped so much time and so much pace on that lap that Nemaya is now teetering on the edge of losing that penalty range to Karafalidis, and Aquila is now out of penalty range. So I don't know what's happened to Kryptonite on that lap, but all of a sudden he's like a second and a half off the pace he was a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, tyres are shot, I think, for Krypton. Aquila now right on the back of him, running down the straight in toward turn 1. Look at the EOS he's got as well, 10% compared to Krypton on 20%. So perhaps he's got the speed. Krypton's certainly trying to manage any sort of issue that he has got on his end. But Rowan leading the way, 6.2 seconds now over Karafalidis, even more than the 5 seconds that I was even alluding to at 10 laps ago. Rowan, though, has looked absolutely dominant out on track. The championship leader is going to extend his championship lead. And as a result, he's going to look easy while doing so. I don't think he's hardly been, pardon the pun, out of first gear here tonight. But it's Rowan leading the way. Karafalidis in second. Nahima there currently in third, looking for that second position potentially. And Aquila obviously going to be getting that third position potentially as well if he's still within 3 seconds of the time. But Rowan now outdo the final middle sector, or the middle sector for the final time, now into the final sector for the final time. He's looked absolutely imperious out on track. The Dutchman, now the VSR man, has the yellow flag through the middle sector. That is Aquila round coming through the right hand of turn number 11. Aquila round out of turn number 11. Rowan, though, through the final corner on the run to the line. Absolute imperious form from Rowan. He's going to make it 2 in a row. He won in Miami. Now he wins once again here in Melbourne, in Australia, down under. Rowan takes the win from Karafalidis coming to the line to finish in second. Namaya there to finish in third. He actually gets second as a result. And Aquila's the third position has just absolutely fallen by the wayside. He'll be angry with himself, I'm sure. He looked very quick, though, in terms of that final scene. He, in the end, picks up in P6. Rowan, though, out on top. Namaya there in second. Karafalidis there in third. Very good race from all. But once again, we have to talk about this man out on front as Jake Marsh is coming through the final sector. Rowan wins again, Aiden. Can anybody stop him?
Oh God, he's got a stranglehold on this championship at the moment, isn't he? And the only person that seemed to have the pace today to challenge was Jensen, and Jensen, a couple of crucial mistakes costing him big time. Yeah, pole position for Rowan, led every single lap of the race as well. It's just been a textbook performance from Rowan to add on from the win that he got in Miami as well. And with Jensen retiring and Rowan getting maximum points, that is a big lead now that they're having the championship. And in fact, Jensen, I think, now might be under pressure from Karafalidis behind, because Karafalidis wasn't too far behind Jensen in the championship standings coming into this. So I wonder if Jensen has potentially lost second in the championship as well. We'll have to wait and see when the standings do come out. But either way, yeah, Rowan with a massive lead now. This early in the season as well, he's on this run of form from this early in the season. It's going to be tough to beat now, but got to give a shout out to Namaya, 14th on the grid to second, having not set a time in qualifying. That is some comeback from the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, stunning performance from the Aston Martin. Perhaps the driver of the day going to him, but with a very funky looking dance at the top step of the podium. It is, of course, the Red Bull of VSR Rowan who takes the win here in WOR for season 13, round 4, of course, in Australia. And hopefully you enjoyed that one. And if you did, of course, like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, of course, if you're brand new. And of course, we didn't actually end up being as popular as what I even would have thought, potentially. We only had 14 concurrent viewers. So the 14 of you, you are hardy PS4 sold and PS5 sold. So I thank you, every single one of you, for tuning in. As Rowan to the top step of the podium, even with a 3-second penalty, couldn't be stopped. The gap would have been 8.7 seconds at the end of the race. Namaya there in second. Karafalidis there in third. Unlucky, I think, in terms of his pace here tonight. I know he's got quicker pace with quicker tracks coming towards the end. Krypton there in fourth, with Denzo in fifth. Aquila there in sixth. Freddy there in seventh. Raphael on debut, by the way, and Age drove a very good race as well. Watch out for him in Tier 2 going forward, of course, on Thursdays. Line Vollop there in ninth. Jake Marsh there in 10th position. And then we've got the 5 DNFs of Cherno, Smalley, Noah, Jensen, and Dan. The 5 DNFs out on track. So that is, I believe, the end for tonight's live stream, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Of course, it is Rowan out on top, Namaya second, Karafalidis there in third, and of course we will have a look at the calendar. There'll be no interviews tonight. We both need to head off, unfortunately, because of obvious reasons. But we go home next week. How fitting, we go home next week in Britain. Of course, we're doing it in LOE tomorrow. Myself and Carl Mentalist, obviously, are going to be there taking you through the action for that one. But Great Britain next week. We're home. It's Silverstone. Hopefully, they're not going to be paying us extortionate prices for commentary.
Oh gosh, yeah, don't remind me of that. That's a scandal and a half, isn't it? But yeah, yeah, back to Silverstone next week. Classic track, isn't it? And it's always great for racing. It is a favourite of a lot of drivers. So yeah, I'm expecting good things from Britain, and we've got a good few rounds coming up as well. After that, we've got Belgium and Canada as well, 2 completely different circuits that always provide great racing as well. So yeah, a lot of good things to look forward to.
Yeah, we've got the second sprint race as well in Belgium, as Aidan alluded to there, 23rd of September. Canada on the 30th. That's going to be an absolute nightmare, especially if it's not on midday in terms of the weather. Italy there for round number 8 of the championship, and then we've got Spain, Abu Dhabi for the third sprint race of the season, and Singapore, Japan, Mexico, Brazil, and then ending off the season in Saudi Arabia. Of course, we go home next week. How fitting, of course, on the pretty much 24 hours after Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II obviously passed away here in the UK. Our thoughts and prayers, of course, from all of the WOR family are with the royal family at what is, I'm sure, a very sad time. Not only for Queen, not only for family, but not only for the country as well. We are going to end it off here. Really hope you enjoyed it, of course. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick the notification bell, of course, if you're brand new. We are going to be back live from Silverstone next week. Maybe even renting out the commentary box for a week potentially there as well going forward. But for myself and Aidan, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.